So can we start? Can we start? Brother Howard.
Most kind and loving Father, we thank you this afternoon, Lord, for all that you've done for us this day. And where we've offended you in these hours, we like to ask you, Lord, that you will forgive us of our sins, the sins of our children, and Lord, that you will draw us closer to one another as we come to sit at your feet to learn more how to prepare for the time that's before us. Father, please take our thoughts captive towards heaven as we learn these precious truths that you have made available for us. Thank you for your grace and your love. We pray this in the loving name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much, brother. So we are going to be doing food preservation today. And before we start, I just want to read the counsel we have been given. So I'm reading from the book Counsels on Diet and Foods, but the quotation comes from the book The Ministry of Healing. There's a section which talks about canning and drying, and that's exactly what we'll be discussing here today. So I just want us to start with the thought. Okay, so it comes from the book Ministry of Healing from page 299. I'm reading. Wherever fruit can be grown in abundance, a liberal supply should be prepared for winter by canning or drying. By what?
Canning or drying.
Small fruits such as currants, gooseberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries can be grown to advantage in many places where they are but little used, and their cultivation is neglected. So here we can see we are encouraged to can, to prepare for the winter, basically, by canning and drying. When we grow foods in abundance, like we can see here on this property, we have tomatoes in abundance, we have onions in abundance. So what can we do? We are instructed, or we are advised, that we can for the times when they won't be available in the garden. So we can can or dry. We are also encouraged to grow small fruits, so that we can be able to can them and use them when they are not in season. So it continues, for household canning, glass rather than tin cans should be used whenever possible. As you can see here, the samples we are presenting, we are canning in glass. So the counsel is we must use glass whenever we can. It is especially necessary that the fruit for canning should be in good condition. So when we are canning, we basically select the fruits which don't have any defects. We select, because if it has bacteria, if it has something in it, it will cause the food to spoil even after processing. And we don't want, after going through, it's a lot of work. After going through the process and then only your food to spoil, we don't want that. So we are also told to use little sugar when we are canning, like especially the jams and such things. You may need to add a little sugar. So she's saying we don't need to use as much sugar as what they teach us in the world, but we should use a little sugar and cook the fruit only long enough to ensure its preservation. Thus prepared, it is an excellent substitute for fresh fruit. So if we prepare our fruits in that way, it's an excellent substitute for fresh fruit if we don't have it when we are out of season. So wherever dried fruits such as raisins, prunes, apples, pears, peaches, and apricots are obtainable at moderate prices, it will be found that they can be used as staple articles of diet much more freely than is customary, with the best results to the health and the vigor of all classes of workers. So here we also see, if you find you are not growing raisins here, but if you find it at good prices, we are encouraged, we can buy them so that we can use them. We can use raisins in the place of sugar. We can use it to sweeten our fruit, as well as many other dried fruits. We can use them. So applesauce put up in glass is wholesome and palatable. Pears and cherries, if they can be obtained, make very nice sauce for winter use. If you can get apples, you are in a good condition as far as fruit is concerned. So if there's only one fruit which you can have, it must be an apple. This is what she's saying. If you can get apples, you are in a good condition as far as fruit is concerned if you have nothing else. I do not think such large varieties of fruit are essential, yet they should be carefully gathered and preserved in their season for use when there are no apples to be had. Apples are superior to any fruit for a standby that grows. So apples, if it's the only thing you can grow, let it be an apple. Amen. And we are learning, we are being told that apples can grow anywhere, even this side in the south. So we just need to go out and experiment with apples. So we are looking at food preservation. So what are the food preservation methods which you can think of? I know we have spoken about canning and drying. What other methods? Huh?
Freezing.
Yes, freezing. Yes. What else? Huh?
Thinking.
Huh?
I'm thinking.
But I think mostly drying is also very.
Yes, salt. Yes, salt. Yes, so yes, salt can also preserve. I mean, like, have you seen how they
Another one.
fish? They put it in a lot of salt. Salt is also.
Smoking is another one.
Yes, smoking is another one. Smoking is different. Yes, so there are many preservation. Yes, because food preservation, you are basically trying to stop the deterioration process so that food can last a bit longer or much longer than if you have it fresh. So anything you do to keep it so that it can last longer is basically food preservation.
Mm.
Yes, you can add lemon juice. Yes, it also helps. Ash, okay, I'm not.
Yes,
Ash, how do
I
you
also
use ash?
saw about ash.
How do you
Tomato.
make
Mahango and the embe.
How do you, oh, you put ash. Oh, so that it
When it's cooked.
before. No, you are trying to
Like
preserve.
to preserve the seeds
It's the mango seed.
for the next season, you put the ash in the best millet.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
maybe
Can you
the
also
best one, then you put the ash.
oh, can you also do it for me?
Maybe because we do it for mahango, we do it for beans, we do it for the what sorghum and the watermelon
There's another one. I don't know how it's
and
called.
embe.
But I remember I used to see my grandmother using it. She used to discourage us from throwing leftover pap. So to collect that pap, put in a
Fermenting.
small
Fermenting. I think that's fermenting. Yes,
yeah,
fermenting.
mixed with water. 3 days later, you have what you call chikandire.
Yes. I think we are all familiar with that. Okay, I just want to repeat what Sister Njahi said because we struggle with our seeds. How do we preserve our seeds for the next season? So she said they use ash. You put ash in the seeds, and then it will help it keep until the next season, the next planting season. So I think that's something we can explore.
What we actually, where you put now, you put in the clay pot, then you seal it with the permit.
A clay pot.
In the clay pot,
The one which you make yourself.
the one you see at the market, those ones. The one you put there, then you seal it. You cover it with sand. The one you use, the clay is the one you use.
So today we are going to talk about drying and canning. Because I think drying, anyone can do drying, and I'll just explain how we can, how you can do it. So for you can actually you can make your own solar dryer. I think I want to talk about that. We experimented where we made a solar dryer. You see like that rake where we are putting our dishes. So you just make with natural, what do you call those? Wood, natural wood. You just make it just like a rake. And then you just need to put, we put a net because you need the liquid to drain off. So you don't want to put something like this, but you need something which has some opening. Even a chicken wire you can put on the rake. And then you need a plastic, a clear plastic to cover so that dust, to prevent dust and flies and such things. Yes, you put the net on top of the rack. If you have 2 layers like that one, it's also fine. You put on both. And then, okay, by the way, we made that one, it had 1 layer. So we put a net, which is the drying area. And then on top, we put the plastic. We need to put a plastic all around, a clear plastic, just to prevent dust and flies and things you don't want in your food. So we dried mangoes that way. And how you dry mangoes or anything else, you need to slice thin slices of whatever you are drying. Then you put it on your drying rack. You cover, but you need to be turning because you are drying it in the sun for the solar dryer. And also, you see, like apples, if you leave an apple open for some time and it gets exposed to water, what happens? It changes color. Yes, yes. A process called oxidation takes place. So for you to stop that, yes, we use lemon juice. So you need to put lemon juice to your prepared fruit. You mix it in before you put it on the dryer. So that's one way you can dry. For, I'm not sure for onions whether you can just do directly, but we can research. I have not dried onions using the solar dryer. Tomatoes are acidic. I don't think they are going to change color. I'm sure you can just dry them just like that on the solar dryer. Tomatoes. Yes, brother.
Sister, I just want to know, you said you dry it, then you flip it over. How often is it? Like every second day? Or you just monitor it and just...
No, you monitor maybe once a day, every day or twice a day. You just need to monitor. Keep an eye. You keep on flipping it over. I think in the sun, like mangoes will take about maybe 3 days.
Oh.
About 3 days. I mean, our sun, we are blessed, is very hot. So I think 3 days, then your mangoes. So you can, I mean, if you have a lot of mangoes, you can make it as big as possible, or you can make as much as you want. Those solar dryers. Now, if you can afford, you can also buy a dehydrator. There's something called dehydrator. You can get cheap ones. You can also get ones which are a bit expensive, which can actually carry a lot of food. So a solar dehydrator is also similar to the, I mean, a dehydrator is similar to drying, only that it has a lot of racks, a lot of shelves, and it uses electricity, or if you are lucky, you can get one which works on solar. Since we are in the country, so we need the one which uses solar. It's more affordable in the long run. Now, if you need to purchase a dehydrator, I would recommend you look at the power usage. Being in the country, don't want something that will consume a lot of power. So look at the power usage, look at the space. So those are the tips I can give you when you are buying one. So when you are drying mango in a dehydrator, the good thing is not much air goes in, so the product does not oxidize. So you don't need to apply lemon juice. So when we dry mangoes, it's just mangoes, 100% mangoes. We don't add anything to it, and it still comes out fresh and delicious, very nice. So if you can afford a a dehydrator, you can do it. But if not, let's use what the Lord has given us. He has given us the sun. We have materials in the forest, the trees. We just need to get some wood and make it. So that's on drying. Now on canning, I'm moving on to canning. So canning, there are two processing methods when it comes to canning. There's one called water bath canning. So a water bath canning, that's where you process high acid foods. Okay? You are going to process your high acid foods like your tomatoes, your fruits in a water bath canning. Now for products which contain little acid, like your vegetables like your beans, even meat, poultry, those things, they don't have much acid. So for those things, you need a pressure canner. So you cannot use, this is just water bath canning, you just use a pot. All you need is a big pot big enough, which can carry your jars and which can also leave some space. Because when you put in your jars, you need about, say, 3 centimeters must be covered with water. Your jars must be covered. After you put your jars, there must be 3 centimeters of water on top of the jars. So you need a pot deep enough where you can put your jars. So this is very simple. But for low acid foods like your beans, you need a pressure canner because those must be processed at high temperatures.
Zero.
Yes, it must be processed at high temperatures. Now, low acid foods, bacteria cannot live in high acid foods. That's why. But low acid foods, there are certain bacteria which cannot be killed by just heating. So you need to heat it at a very high temperature. Otherwise, if you can your beans in a water bath canner, it can cause some bacteria which can make you sick and you can even die. So this point is very important. We need to understand. Don't go and can your beans or something which has low acid using a water bath canner. For that one, you must invest in a pressure canner. Pressure canner, I have not seen them in Namibia, but you can get them in South Africa. I think our sister from the south got some prizes, I think from 5,000. You can get a pressure canner. And when you get a pressure canner, you can can anything, the low acid foods, your vegetables, your beetroot, your butternuts, all vegetables which are low acid, you can can them using a pressure canner. So, but this one is just for high acid foods. Like your tomatoes. Now tomatoes, the pH of tomatoes is about 4.5. So you still need to add a little bit of acid to increase or to lower the pH. To lower it so that the bacteria, which can survive it when heated in a normal pot, it can be killed. So you need to add acid to reduce your pH, to lower your pH in tomatoes because the pH is about 4.5. And we are also advised when you are canning, you need to follow a trusted recipe because someone has already tried it, someone has already tested it, and they have said it works. So don't just go and try things. Look for tested recipes you can get online. I think we'll try to share some recipes on the group when it comes to tomatoes because we have a book. I have a book here, so we'll try to maybe take a few pictures and share some recipes, on tested recipes. So what do you need? So we are going to demonstrate water bath canning because that one anyone can do it. It's affordable to anyone. The pressure canning, not everyone can afford, but at least we have explained the process. If you can afford to get a pressure canner, you get it and you get information. You research, you get information. You can start preserving your own food. So what you need to start preserving, you need a deep pot, like we have said. This is the pot we use to preserve, and you also need a rack because if you just put your jars directly on the pot, it can break. So you need something to hold your pot down. I think you can probably also put a cloth, a bath towel or something. You don't want to put your jars directly, but you need to have something to put inside the pot. So you need your pot, you need this rack, you also need what is this called? You need a scoop to scoop your product, whatever you are canning. You also need a pot where you are going to cook your, if it's tomatoes for example, where you are going to cook your tomatoes in. So you need a pot where you can make your product. You also need a funnel. Okay, I have two types. Any funnel can work because you don't want, when you are canning, you don't want to just throw food. It will create a mess, and you want to be as neat as possible. So the funnel which will put, it just holds food. so that food can, without you making the jars dirty. So you need a funnel. You also need a measuring spoon. I have this one here, which has many measures. So any measuring spoon you are going to need. And you also need a jar lifter. When you are lifting your jar from the pot, it's very hot. You cannot touch with your hands. So you need a jar lifter, which actually holds your jar. So this one helps you to lift your jar. You also need this is a bubble. I forgot what it's called. Yes. So this is a something bubble remover. Brother, where were you? This is a bubble remover. So after you have filled your jars with the product, you need to stir to remove bubbles. This is where this one comes in, and you need to also leave some space, a head space. You don't want to fill it up to the top, so there is a recommended space which you must leave. In the recipe they will tell you. So it has some measurements. So you can also use this side to measure for the head space which you are going to leave. Okay. And then you have this one. This is a jar. This is a lid. I think it's a lid lifter or something. So this one, like when you have this type of lids, you are going to boil them to sterilize them. You need to actually it's very important to sterilize everything before you use your jars. You need to wash them clean nicely. You boil them in water. Now as for the jars, because of that rubber, they don't want to boil them. You boil water, then you drop them in there. Now when you are taking it out, the water is hot. You don't want to touch it with your hands, so you are going to use this. It kind of is a magnet. So this is a tool which you are going to use to lift this, to lift the lid. Then you are going to place it on top of your lid, and then you get the ring. You are going to close off to finger tight, and then you are going to place it in your canner to can.
Sister, I hear that some people, they when storing the apple jars, they also sometimes remove the last part of the lid. They just, once it's sterilized, it remains sealed, but they remove that part. I can't remember what was the reason, but I'll try to find out what was the reason for that. But they said it also helps with extending the period of how long. Because what happens if that thing is not sealed and it's just, and maybe it didn't seal properly, then it leaves. Yeah, that's the reason why. Once it makes now a certain pop sound when it's sealed. But if it is that some of it is not sealed, then you can at least know that it's not. And instead of it just sitting there on your shelf for extended periods, and when you open it, it's already spoiled. So they remove the mason jar, especially with pressure canning.
Yeah, no, I have seen it. So this one is just there to hold the lid in place. But once it's sealed, if it seals, you don't need it anymore. And you also, and this one can be reused. But as for this lid, once you only use it once. You cannot reuse it. So you need to buy these ones as much. You need to keep on replacing them. But for this kind of lids, actually these ones are reused. These ones you can reuse them. So I do reuse.
Sorry, they also even consider, especially those these mayonnaise bottles or beetroot bottles. Some people just sterilize those bottles.